What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today we're going to do a stimulus update. We're going to take a look at Stephen Mnuchin. He had an interview earlier today on CNBC, so we'll take a look at that. He said some interesting things. Then we're also going to take a look at the different states and how people are doing in those states, because we have certain states where people are really struggling, and so we're going to take a look at that. Now, this could have a huge impact when it comes to the election, because if these states aren't doing very well and you have people struggling in those states and they're battleground states, they might be focusing a lot of attention on those states. It could push for a stimulus package to happen a lot sooner than later. So we'll take a look at that. But first off, if you guys could do me one favor, hit the like button. I really appreciate that. Also, subscribe to the channel. We do daily videos and live streams on the weekends. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at Stephen Mnuchin's interview on CNBC.
The latest in the stalemate over additional stimulus for the economy, the Senate's failure last week to move forward on a $300 billion Republican proposal. Joining us now to talk about whether he thinks we can get a deal before the election, Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin. Mr. Treasury Secretary, it's good to see you. It was confounding to watch last week, and there's a lot of the public at this point watching what goes on in Washington and scratching their head. Can you describe exactly what happened last week? It seems like there was enough in that bill, even though it wasn't everything that everyone wanted, that it would have been a plus, a net plus for businesses and others.
So I just want to cut in real quick. So it's interesting how the interviewer just said, this would be good for business and others really. So this did help businesses, yes, for sure, but it did not help others too much. I mean, you had the enhanced unemployment, but that was the only thing when it came to the working people. It wasn't helping them with stimulus checks or anything like that. So it's just kind of interesting how he said that.
The Democrats allow that to move forward. And what is the root of the disagreement between, the Senate Republicans and Democrats on this issue, in your view?
Well, I think the bill clearly had components that are supporting kids and jobs and small businesses. And there's clearly parts of the economy that need more work. And the president and I want to have more support to help those American businesses that have been impacted by this. I think there's many areas of this where there is an agreement between the Democrats and the Republicans. In some of the areas, we do have differences on the amounts. But I will continue to work on this. I've told the Speaker I'm available anytime to negotiate, no conditions. And we look forward. I understand the Problem Solvers is going to put out a bipartisan proposal this afternoon from the House. So I look forward to seeing that as well.
All right. So two things that he said there. So he said no conditions. So he's willing to meet no conditions. So that's really good. And he also mentioned the Problem Solvers Caucus should be having a proposal later today. So that's good. We're going to follow up on that. Now, the Problem Solvers Caucus, their whole reason for being is they're bipartisan, Republicans and Democrats, and they come in when we have stalemates like this. So if there's a stalemate, their whole goal is to try to get something done. So cooperation. Basically, they do what Congress should be doing already. And that's the easiest way to say it. So they should be coming up with something. Maybe this will help. Maybe this will be something that Nancy Pelosi will be on board with, and we can move that forward to get it approved in the House and then sent up to the Senate and have them approve it. So let's continue.
Well, you do seem to be, unlike maybe some of the administration, the rest of the Trump administration, you seem to be able to go back to Speaker Pelosi and I don't know, move beyond ideological differences. But, I mean, are you frustrated that you're throwing out the bathwater with the baby on some of these things? Do you understand where they're coming from and think they have legitimate issues on the other side? Because there's many Americans think, $300 billion is better than nothing, and it looks like we're going to get nothing at this point.
Well, I'm not going to speculate on whether we're going to get something or not. I think there is a compromise if the Speaker is willing to move forward. I am somewhat concerned that she's afraid that any deal will be good for the president, and obviously we have politics that are getting in the way. But let me also just say the Speaker and I will be working on the CR this week, which is obviously a priority for us to make sure that we don't shut down the government.
Okay, that's what I meant by you seem to be able to go back and thank you, sir, may I have another. And I just don't understand sometimes how it works. Where do you think the economy stands right now? Would you call it a V shape? Would you call it a Nike swoosh? Would you call it a check mark? We've seen, obviously, the unemployment rate fall below 10%, but is the second derivative slowing without additional help, or is it doing pretty well and we don't even need additional help?
Well, as I've said before, this is an economic scenario that nobody's ever seen, because this is a scenario where we close down the entire U.S. economy to combat this terrible COVID-19. And as we've reopened the economy, you've seen an enormous rebound. So the fact that we're down to 8.4% unemployment, people thought we were going to have as high as 25% unemployment. So clearly we are having a great rebound. We're going to have a very strong third quarter. But there is also clearly areas of the economy, particularly the travel area, entertainment, hotels, small businesses, restaurants, that are going to need more work. And the president and I are going to continue to fight for those parts of the economy.
All right, so that was it, and it was pretty interesting. He did bring up those two major points. So the problem solvers caucus, I thought was interesting. So we'll have to follow that, as well as he talked about the no conditions. So he is willing to meet again. Now he's saying he is willing to meet. We don't know where Mark Meadows is when it comes down to it, and we don't even know if he's still going to be a part of the negotiating. But it was just interesting to kind of see his take when it comes to the next stimulus package, if we can get a stimulus package out before the election. And like I said, it's key. We need to get it out before the election, because after the election, nothing is going to happen for at least several months, at least until maybe late January or February, before we'll see any more action when it comes to possibly another stimulus package, if there's even one needed at that time. I mean, we could be in a situation where they look at it and they say, oh, we don't need another stimulus package. So we'll have to just see how that goes. Now, another important thing to note is not only do you have the budget talks, which he was talking about, the CR, so the continued resolution, they're going to be working on that, but then you also have the airline industry who's struggling right now, and they've already indicated that they will be laying people off or putting them on furlough October 1st, which putting them on furlough means they're not working anymore. So they're technically laid off, but they could still call them back if they need them. So that's going to be something that's really going to be in the news in the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be pressure to keep these airline employees employed. Okay, so the next thing I want to take a look at, and I'll show you guys the map here. Now, this is Yahoo Finance, and they put this map together. Now, these are the people who are most in distress when it comes to by state, right? So if you're looking at the lighter yellow color here, yellow-orange color, that they're the least distressed. Okay, when you move on to the darker red, those are states where you have people that are the most distressed, financially distressed. So they're struggling the most. And so looking at some of these states is very interesting. One thing that I thought was interesting is California they're orange, but they're pretty light. Oregon is light yellow. But then you look at some of these other states, like battleground states. Arizona is one. They're darker orange there. Texas is not really a battleground state, but you do see that they are struggling. You have a lot of people in financial hardship there. Also, Florida, that's a battleground state. Florida is not doing too well, according to Yahoo Finance. They're darker red there. And then you have Georgia, another battleground state, not doing too well. North Carolina, another battleground state, not doing too well. So you see some of these states really struggling. Now, what does all this mean? Well, this is really important when it comes to the election, right? You want, in order for people to feel comfortable, especially in a battleground state, to vote for the current president, they're going to want to know that things are doing well. And if they're struggling financially, then they might be looking for another candidate, right? They might be looking more towards Joe Biden than President Trump. Because of that, they're looking at their pocketbook and they're saying, hey, I don't have the money that I used to have. What's going on? I want to go a different route. And so it's going to be interesting to watch this and see where it goes when it comes to this whole situation. Now, one thing that they could do to help a lot of people right away, stimulus checks, right? So if you had stimulus checks, then that would help a lot of people right off the bat. Like in the next couple of months, it would help them. And so we'll have to see what they do with this, and we'll have to see if this continues as far as some of these states really, really struggling. And you also have funding for state and local governments. That's another thing they're trying to get back on the table. At least the Democrats are trying to put it on the table. The Republicans are really not receptive to it. But these state and local governments need this money, and some of these people might work for state and local governments, and they might be doing furloughs right now. They might be laid off. So this is another reason why getting a stimulus package out with stimulus checks and everything else would really help some of these states that are struggling. And one more thing to look at too. Just looking at the map, and when we always hear President Trump talk about, the blue states, they just want bailouts and all this. But if you're looking at this map and you're looking at the people who are struggling the most, you have a lot of states, red states, okay, so Republican states that are struggling. And so this might have an impact as well. When you have Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, you have a lot of these states that are in that area that are really, really struggling. And so we'll have to see where they go with this. But then you have some of these larger states like California, which you would think, okay, well, that's probably one of the blue states that he's talking about. The people in that state aren't struggling as much as some of these other states. So I just thought that was interesting to bring up. So that's all I have for you guys today, but I do have a question for you. And the question is, do you think Pelosi and Mnuchin will meet this week, or do you think the talks are over? So over, I mean over until after the election. Do you think they're going to meet this week? Let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.